Hi, everybody. We're coming to you on Tuesday, March 24th, 2020, a little over a week and a half after the coronavirus pandemic came out. I'm joined by my Director of Operations and Agent, Dan Meehan, and Chris Marquez with Granite Escrow. I'm going to give a brief introduction of both of those guys, and then we'll get right into some questions. The purpose of this is to try to bring everybody with up-to-date, relevant and pertinent information as things change day by day here. And the topic here is closing during coronavirus. And we want to talk about what's happening on the escrow side. Give you a brief background on myself. I've been a real estate broker for 15 years in Los Angeles and founding agent with Compass in Beverly Hills. Chris and I specifically have done over 100 list side transactions in the last 10 years we've worked together. And that's a brief background on me. And then I'll turn it over to Dan, who works with us.
Hello, everyone. Dan Meehan. I am the day-to-day operation manager for the Greg Harris Group. I've been with Greg about a year now. We specialize selling in the Sunset Strip, West Hollywood area, Hollywood, into Los Feliz, some Studio City. Anywhere, sweet spot is, condos and anywhere from 1 to 4 million up in the hills. I've been with Greg a year, like I mentioned, handle everything from getting properties ready to sale with our Compass concierge service, working closely with clients day to day throughout our escrows, run the files day to day if needed. But yeah, from the beginning of getting properties ready for sale and seeing them all the way through the end, working closely with Chris's team over at Granite. They've got a great staff over there that helps us quite a bit. Working with title companies. So yeah, just day-to-day operations that covers everything from getting properties ready for sale through the escrow period, marketing efforts, extending all of our, marketing through our outside third-party contacts, getting that stuff ready to go and sending out to our farms. So like I said, been with Greg for a year, and we've hit a stride here first quarter of the year until, this kind of got thrown on everyone's plates, and we're doing our best to try to deal with it, push through, so we come out the other side better for it. And we wanted to set up this call to just try to give some perspective from the agent's point of view and also some of the industry leaders in our Beverly Hills market. So that's why we have Chris on today.
Thank you, Dan. Chris, senior executive with Granite Escrow, which is one of the largest independent escrow companies in Southern California, offices LA to San Diego. So he's got a unique perspective over thousands of escrows that they see and do to talk about exactly what's changed over the last week and a half, what they're doing moving forward, and any trends that they see. Chris offers a really unique perspective. All price ranges. So he's seeing escrows, in every price range and has some perspective on all of that. So welcome, Chris. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, guys, for having me. It's good to be here.
Perfect. So let's just get started with a general question. Just obviously in the last 2 weeks, a week and a half, a lot's changed and it's changing day by day, but specifically, what are some of the things that you've seen change in your operations in the last, say, week and a half?
Quite honestly, it's been a whirlwind. Lots of activity. There's no shortage of activity. We're seeing the good, the bad, the ugly right now. It's kind of all over the map. Surprisingly, last Monday we were holding a collective breath to see what transactions opened, and surprisingly, we had a pretty stellar day of open escrows a week ago from Monday. In addition to that, throughout the week, we were continuing to open transactions. Even the night that the governor and LA County dropped the order for the stay at home, I was getting notified of substantial escrows on the high end. And again, we're seeing things from here. I'm located here in Beverly Hills all the way down to our La Jolla office. So in the more affluent areas, we're definitely seeing larger transactions happen right now. And in more of our middle market areas, we're seeing velocity as well. That said, we are definitely seeing cancellations, for various reasons.
What would you say that percentage of cancellations is up in the last week and a half versus, say, 30 days ago?
So typically our cancellation rate would fall probably around 15% company-wide. So 8.5 out of 10 deals close. But I would say that that's probably ratcheted up to about 30% right now. There is a little bit of a delay between us and you guys as the realtors on the front line. That said, we have to, by the time I see it, there has to be mutual cancellation when it shows up actually in our system. But from what I'm hearing and interacting with, we've got 36 escrow officers company-wide, and interacting with that group, we're definitely seeing cancellations happen for various reasons, from nerves to certain buyers have lost tremendous amounts of money in mutual funds that they were relying on for their down payment.
Sure.
And just, I would say generally speaking, nerves. People are a little nervous of where the market's going. That said, I'm definitely seeing buyers take advantage of the opportunity should they have a seller that's in a strong need to sell their property.
Right. No, that makes sense. What else, Dan? What do you think about what's happening?
The cancellations. Do you see any specifics in those with regard to price point? Do you think that the higher end transactions above 4 or 5 million, given the sensitivity, there's more money involved? Do you see more cancellations in the high end as opposed to condo sales, 1 to 3 million?
I think the cancellations were more likely to happen with deals that have opened with us more recently, and that has to really, I would say, again, it's a mixed bag. I don't see it happening specifically in any price point. I would say just by volume's sake, there are more transactions that happen below $3 million. So, if I'm looking at the data raw, it will show that we are experiencing more cancellations just due to volume. But I don't think it has anything to do with specific price point. I just think that there's, from what I'm hearing and engaging with agents, especially here in the Beverly Hills and West Side market, that it's really specific to the buyer. Certain, and in addition to that, the one thing that I'm keeping an eye on right now, and my finger on the pulse, is appraisals. So how are appraisals going to continue to play into this? And with market volatility in Wall Street, that's certainly going to impact loan product. And so, the major commercial banks will continue lending. To what degree, I don't want to speculate on what's going to happen with different orders that the state and federal government are going to enact. But the commercial banks seem to be pretty solid. It seems to be the smaller correspondent lenders that seem to be getting a little jittery at this point.
Right. No, that makes sense. That's for a separate episode. We're definitely hearing about appraisals, having some issues, having second appraisals needed, cutting LTV on transactions. So that's definitely a trend moving forward for the banks to hedge themselves a little bit. But and that's changing day by day too. Tell us a little bit about the security aspect of your business that you're seeing changes in.
Well, I'd say cybersecurity is what I'm just going to tackle directly. That's an issue that we've been looking at as an industry for the last 4 or 5 years now. Now with the convenience of wire transfers and clients really acting more remotely, whereas 10 years ago most buyers and sellers actually came into escrow. Now we're sending notaries out, and we're not engaging face to face with our clients. What's interesting is this is definitely a time in which we're seeing cybersecurity on the rise, or I should say cyber fraud. So, whoops, sorry, lights went on my end. What we're seeing is, there's because we are the recipients of large sums of money and the dispersers of even larger sums of money in a transaction, we're seeing attempts both ways when it comes to funds coming and going from our trust accounts. Now, as I'll speak generally with regards to escrow companies, we're pretty much adept as an industry as to the proper practices and standard care, if you will, of how we're supposed to be dispersing money. in terms of engaging the recipients of the pending wires. Really where we see a lot of where we're seeing a lot of issue is with funds coming to us, because we don't have control of that.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have a unique setup at Granite, which we've had in place for the last 20 years. Sorry, I'm having some lighting issues over here.
No problem.
We have a trust accounting department. There are gatekeepers. They're essentially, making sure that all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed when it comes to wiring instructions, double checking proceed instructions for outgoing wires, proceeds wires to sellers. But the practices in place, in our industry are pretty wide and vast. So where we're really calling to the public and to our clients is to be mindful of how you're sending your funds to escrow right now.
Right.
We have a unique process. We require a 2-factor authentication. We send out
wires. You went through a
wires.
massive technology overhaul, I remember a few years back, didn't you, regarding all this post-Dodd-Frank? You went through an adjustment in the technology and the way that you do things, just to separate yourself and protect yourself moving forward, right?
Absolutely. So really, it's everything from our data systems are not on site in our branch locations, which is a massive potential liability. We've gone to a central NOC, which is based in Nevada, which I think, we share racks with the government and other major Fortune 100 companies. Wow. Not to say that we're one of them, but really it's a tremendous infrastructure, and it helps us sleep better at night as a company. That said, so in terms of hackability, it's very difficult. I don't want to say that we're impossible or impenetrable. Sure. But we're certainly one of the tougher ones to crack. But that said, there are things that are out of our control, and one of the scams that we're seeing a lot of right now is you have say somebody was watching your emails and hacked into the Greg Harris group. Right. They'll sit there, they'll lay in wait, and they're essentially just fishing through your emails. What they'll do is they'll see that you're opening a transaction, and then without you knowing, they'll try to engage your client. Most instances, right. Well, in this instance, it would be the buyer. They could, in fact, get to the other agent, hack their systems, and get to their buyer should you be on the listing side. I mean, we've seen it happen both ways when we're tracing back who was compromised in a certain scenario. What happens is they'll start to impersonate us as the escrow holder, and right. they'll send their wiring instructions directly to the buyer, and hope that the buyer, in a moment of confusion or weakness, yep. or whatever it is, sends their 50,000 or whatever their 3% deposit is to their account, and it could be a Wells Fargo account. We've yep. had an instance where we had a cyber hacker. He set up a Wells Fargo account. It was under Granite, something like Granite Limited or something of that nature. And luckily, we had a buyer that asked a lot of questions and was suspect of the email and said, "This doesn't look right." And he called us. And sure enough, it was a phony. It was a phony email. And when you send the funds, you've got a very limited amount of time to stop a wire from transmitting, and the funds that you send to escrow may go to a domestic bank, a Wells Fargo, B of A, but those funds, the second those funds hit that account, I guarantee you they will be going overseas. Right. And at that point, all bets.
And then what's the in that scenario? What is the recourse? Just out of curiosity, that gets wired to the Caymans or something, Switzerland, whatever. What do you do? It's gone.
No recourse. It's gone.
Wow.
There was a big article. A couple down in San Diego, they were buying a house with essentially their inheritance and money right. they'd saved up over the years. I think it was around $800,000, and they wired their money to the wrong place, and that money's gone. So there is no recourse.
Are there insurance? I mean, can you file any kind of insurance claim? There's no insurance. You're not insuring anything, right? Other than it's beyond FDIC anyway. So what do you do, right?
Correct. There's really no insurance or recourse. Us as an escrow company, and I would hope most escrow companies do in this day and age have cyber insurance, but there but also there's certain criterion which we have to meet as an escrow holder in order to even file a claim should there be a loss. So
right. Yeah, desperate time, desperate measures. How would you say, I mean, we've all seen this before, right? Anybody who's been through a couple cycles like we have, but are you seeing similar things to 2008 and 9, or different, more sophisticated, or to be seen?
At this point, it's to be seen.
Yeah.
I haven't seen buyers walking away from deposits.
Yep.
After contingency, I'm seeing people close their transactions. And, that said, from perspective back in 2008, I saw maybe 1 or 2 individuals walk away from a deposit that were getting ready to do their transaction.
Yeah.
So it's never in my 17-year escrow career, I've only seen it happen a handful of times.
Right. Now that's good to hear. It seems like our understanding from people that we've talked to, the only people potentially walking away are maybe investors that feel that they may not, with not a clear path for what they're going to develop or reposition, we've heard one instance of that in the last week. They just decided, to forego about $47,000 and not move forward with the purchase. But you're right. We haven't heard a lot of that, and I haven't heard any of it for homes that people are buying for themselves. It hasn't been that. Speaking of that, just as we're on the call, we just got an email that we're closing a transaction with you tomorrow. So that is proof positive that the buyer's loan funded, that the deals are still happening. Luckily, we think we had that one going before all this happened, but I'm not sure how that would have worked out if we were at a different stage of the transaction now with that. But yes, we are still closing things moving forward.
The one thing I'll say though, you brought up spec developers. And this is something we just saw happen on a transaction. Their lender pulled out on a specific spec deal.
Yep.
The banks are definitely, I think that's the first product that you'll see disappear from a lender's portfolio.
Yep.
So, I think spec builders could have a hard time closing a transaction. But that said, I haven't read through the new COVID-19 CARA addendum, and I'm not sure if that covers should the purchase be a spec project, would a borrower be covered? Because I
haven't had a chance to look over that, but Dan has. Dan, do you remember seeing that in there?
Not specifically in that instance. I think it was, I know specific brokerages are specifically releasing their own COVID addendums, whether there needs to be something put on hold or extended, extend the escrow, extend the deal, everything kind of just pauses, and both sides, I believe, need to agree to it. Both need to sign an addendum along with the CAR form that rolled out. I think obviously everything's moving fast. We're filming this on Tuesday. Was it the 23rd? 24th. But everything's changing so quickly every day. And I think with transactions moving along during this time, you might see some more people using those forms. They're new to everyone, but I think this is kind of the reality going forward for at least, for the next 2-3 weeks, maybe a couple months, who knows, but you might start seeing those forms used a little bit more frequently. As things become more unsure, people want to cover their behinds on these transactions. So yes, I'm sure we'll be using, a couple transactions. We'll see.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Anything else, Chris, you want to add that you're looking forward to where things are going, that you guys are either preparing yourself for, or a trend you might see over the coming weeks, and how you're going to handle that?
Well, I think, with the governor's order, safer at home, from what I'm hearing, properties can't be shown right now, but I'm of the understanding that CAR is trying to appeal to the governor right now to help you guys out on that end, because
really?
In a time like this, people may need to liquidate assets. So, that said, we'll see how that plays out. But through this, I mean, yesterday we still opened up a significant amount of transactions.
Really?
Going into So people are still out there buying and selling. And you know, as long as that wheel keeps turning, I'm very optimistic. You know, obviously, I think the sooner we get through this, the faster you do, the better we're going to be off. So we'll just kind of see how it plays out. But as far as my crystal ball goes, man, it's very cloudy right now.
So from 6 feet apart, you're seeing some deals happen. That's good to hear.
We are seeing deals happen. Absolutely. You know, the refinances are starting to close down. And I'll tell you, luckily, you know, heading into this whole mess, we were in a very strong position. You know, the market really kicked into gear in November, and through a period of time that's normally our first part of the year is normally our worst time of the year. You know, we're just we just suck it up and want to get through it. We've been exceptionally busy and profitable, which, you know, I knock on wood and I count my shining stars that you know, that we as a company are in a good place. That said, you know, we can't keep at this pace forever. But you know, I think that ultimately, I think that that we'll fare through this.
Mm-hmm.
I do, from what I'm sensing from the market, from my perspective, is that there could be a strong snapback. But you know, it all has to do with, you know, how the orders are lifted, and you know, how we you know, hopefully flatten the curve.
No, I think there's still a lot of unknown. That's why we're going to try to do these every few days, so we keep bringing some information, because literally if we'd had this call a week ago, it would be very different information than now. So I think everything's changing day to day. But we really appreciate your time. We know you're busy doing everything that you're doing on your end. And your whole office still open, still working through this?
We're still open. We are an essential business to the economy. So Granite Escrow, as well as every other escrow company, should be open and doing business right now. So we're here to support you guys in any aspect. You know, I really have to commend the notaries that are going out right now and signing up buyers on, you know, to their loan documents and getting sellers grant deeds notarized. You know, as a company, you know, we instituted a policy that there are no guests allowed in our offices right now. So we're doing everything via notary that needs a wet signature. And, you know, again, just monitoring it day by day. So
is it hard to find notaries to do it? I know you just did it for us on the one we're closing tomorrow. But
you bring up a great point. Right now, it's not. But I am starting to hear that the notaries are charging a little bit more.
Yeah, sure. Fair enough.
A little hazard pay, if you will. But you know, it's but they're still out there. They're helping us get deals done right now, and title's going. And you know, right now, I don't want to extend the call too far out, but you know, title companies have contingency plans that I don't think we need to get into at this point. But should, you know, government agencies start to close, you know, I don't think that we're going to stop the flow of transactions in terms of how they're opening and closing. So, you know, stay posted, stay tuned. We're all looking at this situation kind of hour by hour.
No, absolutely. Well, Chris, we really appreciate your time. We know you got a lot going on. Maybe we'll circle back with you in a couple of weeks, see what's changed. But we appreciate you jumping on the call with Dan and myself, and hopefully we close that one up together tomorrow.
Looking forward to it. Thanks for doing this, guys. It's a huge service to everybody. So,
of course, thank you so much.
Great job. It's always a pleasure. Take care.
Thank you.